Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Coffees with Toffees podcast. I'll be your host, Flubb, and this is the Flupdate. So we got a short list for you tonight. We got four different things that I want to talk about. First off, we got the Star Ladder tournament. Then we got to talk about the Moonduck Midas mode, which is very interesting. Then we're going to talk about a Synderen interview, and lastly, the Flubb question, as always. So first off, let us get into the Star Ladder tournament. So in the Star Ladder tournament this past week, we got to see the Liquid team take gold, and then we got VG Team VG.J taking second, and we got TNC Pro Team and OG taking third and fourth. In this whole tournament, there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of going back and forth. Team Liquid had Matumba Man kind of doing a little jig out in front. We had Team VG.J doing a like dab to V. It's pretty fun. It's pretty interesting. I really enjoyed it. So we got that like fun stuff in the beginning. The actual series finale was really great. There was a lot of good Dota being played. The thing that I found the most intriguing this tournament was definitely the OG versus VG.J series. Very good series, very enjoyable. The picks that they had were great. I really enjoyed the Rubik and the Undying on the second game that VG.J decided to run. It's a classic combo, pulling them further back into the Tombstone. Really, really fun. Or pulling them away if they're trying to get the last hits down on it. It's a really good combination, and they did it to perfection on that game. And then the third game, I really enjoyed the support combo again with going into the Coddle, uh, the Warlock Coddle lane. It's really, really fun. Very understandable. You have plenty of health regen, plenty of mana regen, just a lot that was available to them. There was also the availability of all that team fight potential that they had. Really, the only thing that they were lacking was a hard stun between the two supports. This is kind of the difference between a good pro team and a good pub team, or a good team that kind of works decently together. The idea is that you don't always have to have all these different stuns to take advantage. You have many different ways to break it. You have many different things that you can do in general. It's just very, very fun Dota to watch, and I encourage you guys to really look over those series if you're trying to learn more about Dota in general and try to pick up something new. And it's also just a very exciting series. So kudos to them in that series. It was a lot of fun. And now we're going to move on to our second thing, the Moonduck Midas mode. Very, very excited about this tournament. I was very, very excited about Elimination when that was getting brought up again. This mode is even better because it's even more new. It's the fresh new idea that they're coming up. They still got to get some sponsors and things like that, which that's okay. I have full faith that they will get all that, and it'll be a lot of fun. And it's going to be coming up right after the Kiev Major. It's going to be April 20th to the 23rd, and this new system is really, really cool. This new mode is really, really cool. It's got a a new tournament idea based on a currency system and they're going to call the currency Moonbucks, obviously because it's Moonduck tournament. And these Moonbucks are going to be basically used to kind of do your regular things throughout the tournament. Picks, bans, sides, even pauses are going to cost currency, and or these Moonbucks. And the players that obviously all these picks and bans that cost more are going to be the ones that are more popular or that are picked further out the tournament, or even the ones that you have been more successful with in the past, on the past game or the past series or whatever. So it's a really cool, interesting system to try to get players to play something that they're uncomfortable with, try to create new, innovative ideas with all these different heroes, and not just have pro players who play like 10 different heroes. So very, very interesting. Should be a lot of fun. Uh, there's some subtle nuances though to this tournament. They Values change over time, like I said before, and teams are allowed to wager their Moonbucks, even when they have to do it when they're not in game, though. So they can't bet on themselves, but they can bet on other teams. That is, you can bet on your opponents. That's crazy. I'm interested to see how that works, and it should be a lot of fun. The other thing that's pretty cool, though, is that they're doing a whole bounty system. They're doing a bounty system for the viewers. It's basically we can like put up ideas or quests for them to do, and if the teams do it where it's like no smokes, or you can't ward in a match, or and it's not even just like restriction on item that can be play a team without legs or play blue team, and all the characters have to have a blue background to them or like a blue tinge to them. And if they complete that bounty, then they get these extra Moonbucks that they can do with on other matches. So should be a lot of clowniness, a lot of really fun clowny Dota, which is always something that's really fun. It's a breath of fresh air especially after something big like the Kiev tournament. So I'm really excited for it, and I know that you guys are too. One of the best things about it is that they have the great strategist Nahas going behind the scenes, doing a lot of the details, working his economic brain on everything. And we also had this idea was kind of put forth through the North American support wizard known as Zfreak. So I don't think that this tournament can go wrong. I think it's a grand idea, and I'm excited to see it. So let's move on to our third thing, the Cinderin interview. The Cinderin interview kind of came out a few days ago, and there's nothing like too special about it, something too crazy. The thing that I really enjoy about it is that they kind of got to a certain point about talking about what they see for their team and what Cinderin is doing in general. And it kind of says, he kind of has a quote here that I want to read that kind of says a lot about him as a player, about him as a captain, and about where Dota is in general. He said, the game right now seems to be in a state where the absolutely most important thing is your comfort in your own strategies. I really think that that's always been what Dota is about. It's about understanding who you are as a player and understanding you are in the theme of Dota and understanding what's actually viable and what's not in the way of movement and understanding and just learning that playstyle and forming around that playstyle. Don't try to form to another person's playstyle or another team's playstyle. Then you'll most definitely lose because you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You can't have a situation where okay, you can prepare and prepare and prepare for your idea for what the game is. Then you get to a tournament and you like, "Oh, that's a really strong strategy. I'm going to go with that." Well, you haven't practiced it. You haven't flushed out all the problems with it. And if you try to base your strategy on someone else's strategy, then you're not going to see the holes, and they're going to know exactly the holes of the strategy and just destroy you with it. So I feel like, I mean, obviously, when you're at a pro level, you can see those holes more clearly. I just feel like there is a situation where, especially where with talents being introduced and this whole new backdrop of what people are available to now, that the game is based around our strategies more so than ever, and that this game and its players have that thrive are more about change in general and about morphing with that change and trying to form something of their own instead of copying the guy that's the most successful, which is great to see in video games, and I hope that continues on and we can keep that Dota mentality alive. All right, so then fourth and finally, we got the flub question. Tim Kaninsky has asked this question. He asks every week something new, which is great. I really appreciate it, Tim. Thank you for asking me something. And I really like this question because it's something that I struggled with at one point in my career, or my Dota career, and I wanna read it with you guys and kind of get you through this, Tim, and get you through the understanding that I have on this situation. So he asks tri-laning. If you see an enemy, or for tri-laning, if you see an enemy is going for an obvious jungler or solo off lane, is it advantageous to let your safe laner solo farm and do an aggro try where you can get in the jungle, or maybe just bully the enemy safe laner so they can't get farm? So if you feel like you can get away with a jungler, I think that that's okay. But like, if you're saying, I think what you're saying is you're trying to like take advantage of like a solo offlaner. And if you're trying to take advantage of a solo offlaner, then the best way to do it is to obviously to keep him from getting any experience. Or I mean, if you can set up your safe laner like a Drow versus a Tide, in my opinion, that is a very strong situation. You let them get a couple waves of farm, and then kind of rotate out of that situation. Have them go to another lane and take advantage of the level advantage that you created for the drow and take advantage of a melee versus a drow. I mean, that's really what it is. A lot of times you want to try to do that. I do not think that jungling is ever like the natural way to do something. The only reason why jungling is like the way to do something is, one, there's certain patches where jungling is stronger and you can kind of get more out of it. I also think that jungling is a decent strategy if you think that they're going for like a late game strategy, and then their late game is only one person. And then you can be like, "Oh, okay, well we're just going to farm you out." And you can have one super farmed carry guy that will all focus and then destroy him. And that's one way that you can get around it. Or like you said, you can move your guys into their safe lane and kind of disrupt them. One thing that I see way too often is people seeing that the jungler is going to happen in pubs or in ranked games, and they don't move to disrupt that farm or move to disrupt that situation. And if you're not moving over to disrupt a jungle in game, then yeah, you're definitely going to lose in that type of situation. So I myself am more an aggressive player, and that's why I try to tell people to move aggressively. So going into the jungle has kind of a reaction of like, okay, if you're going to go into the jungle and they're on top of you all the time, and you know that your safe lane can bully out their off lane, then they are just they're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to find farm. Their cores are going to be super low level, and then you can just like push down the middle and basically get all their towers. And that happens a lot in my pub games actually. One of my favorite things that happen is I'll just pick a five that I know that I can do whatever I need to do throughout the game and just take advantage of the situation that they are going to be super low level and they're trying to farm up all the time. And you can just convince people, push now and get their towers when they are trying to like farm up this simple item. If you can get a few towers, it's going to be better than having that farm on some guys that are trying to share a jungle while you're pushing stuff down. Or you can even like, if you do it well enough, you can even like have a guy like Pudge TP back and hook them while they're trying to farm the other lanes, trying to split push you out. So just some stuff to think about, some stuff to kind of mull your brain over. If I think I got your question, if you have another one, just send it to me, and we'll get it all figured out. But I really do like your question, and that's something that I love to talk about in general is tri laning because I have a lot of practice on that area. So if you're ever interested in trying to move around or understand that a little bit better, always send me a message. So that kind of brings the end of our show. I know it's a little short tonight. It's a little going out. So we're gonna go into our closeout now. I'd like to say if you guys want to help us out at all, if you want to like any of our videos or subscribe in general, you can do that on either Twitch or our YouTube channel. It would be really help us out. You can go to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Toffees underscore Dota 2. You can go to our YouTube channel at 5 Midas Gaming, or geez, it's not at sign, it's 5 Midas Gaming. And you can also give to our Patreon if you're feeling extra generous at www.patreon.com/Toffees. And the thing about our Patreon and subscribing in general is that we're actually doing some different change ups on our subscribe it for subscribing to our channel or going on to Patreon in the near future. And we're going to do like things with brewmasters or Flupdate or things like that, that if you guys want to know certain things, you can kind of like help with the show, or we can have like for the brewmasters draft, we were kind of considering having you guys come on and talk about your draft, and we kind of like dissect the draft together, kind of talk things out. So look forward to that in the future. It's kind of like my announcement section here, but it's kind of part of our closeout too. So if you're interested, please let me know. Send me a message, and I'll tell you how to do that here in a second. So if you have any questions for me or Toffees, you can follow Toffees at Toffees TV on his Twitter page, or you can follow me on my Twitter at Flubdota, or you can send me an email about Brewmaster's update if you're interested in that aspect that I was talking about for subscribing or Patreon, or if you want me to do any casting in general, or just have a question for the week, or anything, question about anything, or just want to talk to me, tweet me at Flubdota or send it to my Gmail account, crazyflub@gmail.com. Well, guys, I really enjoyed myself tonight. I hope that you guys have